if you really want to get in this game and stay in this game long term, you don't focus on the money, you focus on people and relationships. Because having that support system is everything. And it was funny because it applies to everything in life. I had a guy on my podcast recently, Joe Scargill, and he's an active Secret Service agent and a jiu-jitsu black belt. And he was talking about like he's based out of Jacksonville. And I was like, yeah, dude, but like Secret Service, don't you watch the president in DC? And he was like, well, part of the time. He's like, but there's these little Secret Service stations all over the country for not only when our president needs to travel, but other ones that come in from other parts of the country. If all of a sudden the leader of name that country comes into the United States and they're like, hey, they're coming in to do something in Jacksonville, they don't know anything about Jacksonville. So they need to reach out to somebody that knows that community well because they go, we need to know where the good part of town is, where the bad part of town is. You know the cops, you know the robbers, you know the good guys, you know the bad guys. So they're basically giving them that support to know where to not get in trouble and where to stay safe. And I feel like that's like a big lesson for business is have those connections, have that support system because as things come up, like you said, trees go down and now you need to evolve. Now you're in unfamiliar territory. You can reach out to somebody who's already there and goes, look, I've already made my tent here. I've already drilled for water here. Like, here's how to keep you safe. And if you don't have that and you want to be a one-man show and you want to alienate everybody and have a scarcity mentality, when things get hard, now you're fighting by yourself against a whole team. Like, and that's never going to be a winning battle.
No, yeah, absolutely not. Yeah, well said. I hadn't thought about that before.
So another thing you touched on thought was really interesting is you were talking about not only critical thinking, but the ego of people that are already established, not looking to evolve because they already have an established business and they don't want to pivot. And to your point, if you wanted to stay stagnant where you are and just go, hey, what I've been doing has been working for 20 years. I feel like we're at a time in the world right now where more than ever things are evolving and moving. And if you're going to stay still, you're going to get washed away pretty quick. And as a guy like you who's found so much success, I find it very interesting. Like, how do you not get a big ego? Because you're so successful, and to now still be in a position where you're a black belt, but you still have that white belt mentality. That's like one of the traits I find in some of the most successful people is they're a master of what they do, but they're always constantly willing to learn and see where their holes is and find that better. And then you find people that have had like minimal level of success, and they're like, I got it all figured out. Like it's a very interesting, weird dynamic.
Yes. It's kind of like training for balance. You're never done with it. But I love that analogy about the black belt acting like they're a white belt. And ego work, what got you here won't get you there is just a fantastic book that talks about that exact principle. And that was what opened my eyes to that at first. But being that I had a huge exit on top of a real estate fortune I already had, when money was no longer a driving force, I was completely blessed with the ability I didn't want to retire. I sold my company at 40. It was almost on my 40th birthday. It wasn't about retirement, it was about rewirement. And what that meant to me was looking at every belief I had, everything I valued, and asking myself, is this valuable anymore? Because my lens was always me, ego, money, everything else. Like it was always the money lens first. So to take that lens off, there's been a lot of self-discovery. And you said something earlier when you introduced me, my drive to be lazy. That was why I got into real estate because I wanted to have residual income, multiple streams of income coming in so I could be lazy, which is to do whatever I want, whenever I want, with whoever I want. Being lazy, there's a lot of different ways to look at that, is really understanding the cost of things. Now, if I have to do something, I look at the cost of it through a lens that's not just financial. I look at the cost of my life, of what I won't be doing. It's a new lens, and I say no a lot more, but the things I'm saying yes to are directly in line with my high excitement. So it's really easy to keep going and to keep evolving when you enjoy what you're doing, because you can't stop me from doing that. So right now I'm just looking at things through a different lens. I mean, I bought a mountain. I literally sit at the top of it, like some stereotypical, anyway, that's a whole nother conversation, but I have a whole different routine of slowing down and making sure I'm valuing things that tie to my soul, not that I've been told are valuable. And I mean, I have been that guy. I was a very persuasive sales and marketing person. and I was selling future inadequacies. I was selling the need for things that I just so happened to have. So as I've been able to look back at my past self, I'm like, wow, I was really tapping into people's insecurities, people's fears. I mean, yes and no, right? Like people need to be financially secure. I was just able to really turn it up and show them what could happen if you're not. But I was part of that system as well. And to kind of finally break free and be able to look at that has given me a really good perspective to where now my decisions are made 100% authentic. There's all the motivation I need to keep moving. The things that are most important to me, I make sure to have social accountability tied to everything that I'm doing. When I started my nonprofit, even before I really got it off the ground, I stood in front of 200 people that I respect more than about anyone and said, this is what I'm doing. Here are my plans. A lot of people are like, hey, don't tell people what you're doing, show them. I understand that. But also, if you want to build in accountability, tell people. If you are the person, you first have to have integrity. You have to do what you say you're going to do. If you have a history of not doing what you say you're going to do, don't tell anyone, right? But if you have a track record of doing what you say you're going to do, then I say go ahead and tell people, because it just gives you a little more of that push to stay on track, not if things get hard, when they get hard. And when they get hard, that is the reason you're doing it. That is the growth that you're here for on this earth. If you have the belief that you are on this planet to learn, you are here to learn in all sorts of different ways, then challenges and setbacks are the reason for being here. And if you can truly believe that, then you can approach those things with just as much or more excitement than as when things are going good. And then you get the full growth that you're here. You're not running away from challenges. We used to have this saying, everything's funny when you're making money, right? And it is. You're making, oh, nothing, but then when you're not making money, now you're looking at yourself. That's when all the real growth happens. So yeah, the big trees are falling. It's giving rise for those that can grow. So it's a really exciting time. And we're all on this earth to learn. And the reason that I do these podcasts is because I learn a lot from you, from hearing myself talk. It really helps. And one thing I learned early in my career was the power of questions. When the questions you ask yourself are essentially like the spells that you cast on yourself, right? For a visual representation of that. If there's something bad and you say, how can I use this to be the best thing that ever happened in my life? You are going to find those answers. Just like when you get a car, you start seeing that car everywhere. But if you ask the question, why does this always happen to me? Then you're going to see all the reasons on why you fail. And failing is bad, but failing is good as well. So, the questions you ask yourself are important. And to take it a step further, what I learned is when I'm on this podcast and, someone I respect, when Nick asks me a question, Ross, you've been so successful. How have you managed to do this? You asking me that question puts me into this state of mind to where I'm attracting more success. It's like this crazy thing that I noticed happened from these podcasts. The more podcasts I do, the more successful I feel and the more things I attract that I'm looking for. The conversation Nick and I had even before this call could be a huge game changer for myself, for Nick, and for thousands of families around the country. So there was a lot there, but you kind of asked a question that tied into so much, because you asked a question about mindset and the growth.